Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. The Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States
of
of
America,
America and to the
and to the
republic
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Chairman Bordenaro,
Here.
Mr. Fernandez,
Here.
Mr. Grady,
Here,
Mr. Holmes,
Here.
Mr. Miller,
Here.
Mr. Paradis.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay. Public comments. I would make a statement on public comments. We did hear from quite a few people at the budget forum, and of course, we heard them through the vote yesterday. So if we can limit the comments to anything new, I would appreciate that. And also, we'd like to limit it to 2 minutes. So Tim, would you manage the 2 minutes?
sure.
Okay, so is there anybody who would like to speak?
I do, if you don't mind. My name is Julia Dennis. I'm at 115 Norton Road. I just wanted to make a statement saying that the Board of Education has worked hard on adopting a budget that will fulfill the needs of all our students and support the overall educational community in our town. At a minimum, the Board of Education needs a 4.23% to maintain contractual obligations. I've heard in meetings that the board has a contingency fund. I wanted to clarify on record that that contingency fund being referred to is grant money that we received from the Choice program. Any remaining funds that from the Choice grant are used for special education outplacement costs and any unanticipated costs. It's a small amount. I think it is important to clarify that the board doesn't sit on a contingency fund. Rather, we have money from a grant, and it's important not to exhaust all of it because that will create additional constraints. Tonight, as you discuss the budget, remember that the children have already been impacted tremendously by COVID. Now we're facing issues of learning recovery and addressing learning loss. So now is not the time to take away systems and structures in place through reducing our operational budget because that will exist in personnel reduction. So at a minimum, 4.23 is needed for contractual obligations. Thank you for letting me speak.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, name and address, please.
Yep, my name is Cornell Boudria. I'm at 115 Skinner Road. I'm speaking on behalf of the school budget. Yesterday, voters sent a pretty clear message that the school budget was substantially too low. It's my hope that on the call tonight, that members of the BOF will see fit to raise the BOF, the BOE budget. A fully funded budget requires a 5.84% increase. That's a $1.4 million gap from where we are right now. Voters made a case that they are fine investing in schools, and if it means raising the mill rate, then I think the board should entertain discussion to that extent. And with that, I will yield my time. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Going once? Going twice?
Sal,
Yes.
it looks like Peter Zarbos has his hand up.
Oh, okay. So I didn't see, I guess I don't have everybody up there. Sorry. All right, go
That's
ahead, Peter.
158 Elwood Road, Peter Zaragoza, speaking on my own. I don't represent anyone else or any boards. Reflecting on the last joint meeting, I think that the 3.2 or 100K increase to the BOE budget fell far short of what we need. This has been repeatedly stated by the superintendent, by the board president, that at bare minimum, the Board of Ed needs 4.23 to meet contractual obligations. So at bare minimum, we need an additional $590,000, and that's a far gap from where we are now. I also think that it's a little bit reckless for the town to be pulling money from fund balance when we have a $4.2 million surplus. I feel like drawing off of that fund balance is going to impact our AAA bond rating, and it's not good when we're looking into the future. I really think that it's critical that we utilize that surplus money. I do not know how that surplus money has already been allocated, but it seems like it's been allocated to pet projects, and the Board of Ed has been put on the back burner. And I don't think that that is a wise choice, because investing in education is always a wise move for the town and for its people and young families. I will be keeping a close eye on how the vote handles today, and I really hope that people on the board advocate for the appropriate funding, which would be a bare minimum of $590,000. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Kevin, anybody else? Kevin, you see anybody?
I don't see anybody else, no.
Okay, all right. Well, that closes the public comments. Thanks for all the comments. So now we could go into, oh, yeah, before we go into the budget, Kevin. I like that. I think I sent you a note, but the current year surplus in terms of opportunities is getting close to 5 million. And that's grown, in the last, several months from, I think we're around 4 million. And one of the things that keeps on growing is the interest income. So I'm just curious, I'm just trying to understand is that what kind of interest rates have we experienced the last couple of months? And then what is the basis of our proposed budget for interest income, the interest rates associated with that interest income, just so I can get an understanding of that. Is there more room for more interest income that we could add? I don't know. I'm just asking.
So current year, the budget was adopted at a time when interest rates were 0.25%.
Sure.
Over this past year, I think everybody's aware, the Federal Reserve has been increasing rates dramatically. And currently the town is investing between 3.65 and 4.8%. It's at various institutions. The town also has the benefit of a little bit over $5 million of ARPA money, which is available, but will be used over the next 18 to 24 months to fund the Willard HVAC project. So there's earnings on that money that will not be available.
Okay.
The town also has a few other projects that are larger where there's been funds sitting there. As far as looking forward to next year, the interest rate assumption is about 4%. It's looking at various projects and cash flow expectations, some of which are existing cash, like the ARPA that I mentioned, that will be going out, so we can't earn interest on it.
Sure.
Some of it is existing cash that the town will have that will front reimbursable projects. For example, a Biscaglio Field renovation. It's a $2.1 million project. We will be pulling money out of the bank, pay the money, and then get reimbursed for that money by the state. So that will be a progressive element. So there's an assumption of cash flow, and then it takes typically 90 to 120 days to get that money back between submitting, reviewing, approving, and then providing the money. So it's kind of looking at the cash flow that way.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, I certainly can't say definitively there's no opportunity,
Okay.
but I think the opportunity is somewhat limited. I would remind you that you increased the original budget by about $500,000. One of the
Yep.
things that is concerned is if the country does enter a recession over the next several months, the Federal Reserve may reverse course and lower interest rates to try to help ease any of the pain there. So that would be basically 180 degrees opposite of what we experienced. So I'd caution not to go too far out on a limb with
Okay.
interest.
Okay. No, I appreciate the explanation, Kevin, and it seems like after what you're saying, it appears that we have a fair number in there for the budget. So any other comments on that or, okay? All right, so I suggest we start with the Board of Education.
Sal, before we
yes.
do that, could I just ask a clarifying question based on, just to clarify in my own mind? on something Mr. Zaragoza said.
Sure.
Whatever the surplus is, if it's 4.2 million or whatever, that money at the end of the year goes into fund balance, right? So when people are saying use the 4.2 million, don't use fund balance, that's the money is going into fund balance. So we have to use fund balance in order to do any additional funding unless we're going to raise the mill rate. Is that correct?
That's correct. And I think people are getting confused that, we have a target fund balance of 11%, say. All right, so that $4 million or $5 million, whatever, is above that 11% ceiling that we use. So that's really true surplus that's being generated out of the current fiscal year. So they are confused a little between what we say is 11% that we use as a cap, for financial reasons, and then the excess is the $4 million is actual excess to that 11%.
But it
Sal,
is in fund balance.
Sal, I would just
Yeah.
clarify, the 11% is actually a floor, not a cap.
Okay,
The target, if you were to look at the target best practices, Government Finance Officers Association, for example, would tell you that 2 months worth of savings would be an appropriate target for a community to have. That's both unexpected expenditures as well as potential shortfall in revenue, especially if we are entering a potential recessionary period. There is a possibility that taxes would come in later.
Yeah.
2 months would be 16.7%. So 11 is really the floor that
Okay.
we have as a policy.
but we've been targeting that floor for many years now, Kevin.
We have. Part of that is trying to compensate for several years of deferred capital, and
Yep.
it's a balancing act to address those.
Well, I think part of the confusion, like what Mr. Zaragoza was saying, that he doesn't understand, and I think a lot of people don't, is because of a commentary that a town councilor put in the Citizen stating that the town only had $5 million in fund balances and wasn't keeping good practice and good accounting practices, which was completely inaccurate. So whoever read that is assuming that we're using fund balance and running the town out of money, which isn't the case.
It's definitely not the case. I didn't see that article. That is definitely not the case.
Yeah, I was a little upset with the whole thing. It was ridiculous.
If anybody has inferred or stated that the town has a problem, it has not been the case from our auditors to Standard & Poor's to our actuaries. I mean, I don't think there's anybody who would state that. I could be wrong, but I don't think any independent group that has looked at our financials would say they are in a poor situation or have been run poorly, but
And that information should be sent out to the town, because that really, that didn't do any of this argument any justice at all, and it certainly didn't help make our job easier.
yeah, I mean, Jerry and Sal, you sat through the auditor's year-end review of our financial condition. I didn't hear anything negative at all there, but correct me if you did.
No, we have a stellar financial posture with the town.
Yeah, if someone wrote that and I don't know what the article or who wrote it or whatever, but our reserves are where they, in accordance with our policies. Some of us might think we should have a little bit more because of our deferred maintenance and capital practices. But I mean, if someone's saying we only have 5 million in reserves, that's just totally wrong.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, so now, let's get into the Board of Education. I would like to make one clarification. And, it's all in the communication, but when we had the joint meeting and we offered the 3.2% plus to cover, $200,000 risk. My understanding with the mayor and the superintendent that they were comfortable with that position. So there seems to be a little, miscommunication on what everybody's comfortable with. But my understanding is that the 3.2% plus a 200K, if they had to use it for, say, outplacement or whatever, the town would replenish that 200K. In effect, that would equate to 3.6%. And I understood that the superintendent was comfortable with that position. And I'll leave it at that. Okay. So So let's, I just want to set record from what I know, okay? With respect to, moving forward, the town voted, again, it's disappointing that, our folks can't come, not enough people can come out, I mean, last year, I think we're about 5% came out, so this year it's almost double, it's 10%, which is great. But there's 90% of the town that doesn't come out to vote, which is, you would think, people worried about their property taxes or concerned about their property taxes would come out to vote. So it is a bit disappointing that, and maybe we got to look in the future on how better we communicate, voting on the referendum, because maybe people don't understand what budget really means. Or maybe we should say budget that affects property tax or something, because people just, don't come out, so that's that.
That's the good side, right? So, but
Yeah.
the bad side is people not caring. Just tell me
Yeah.
how much I have to pay and I'll pay.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
but I think in many cases, people pick up their tax bill and then they say, what happened? So, okay. So with that, I'm gonna make, proposed position on the Board of Education, and, we could talk about it, okay? So I'm recommending a 3.5% increase, okay, compared to the 3% that's currently the proposed budget. Okay. And that still leaves that they, that they have 200K of risk monies, in their budget. And to be frank, for the last 4 years, there has been choice grant money remaining every year for the last 4 years. So what I'd like to do is I propose a 3.5%. That's approximately a $245,000 increase from the Board of Finance initial proposal. But I would also like to offset that by taking it out of surplus, so we don't increase the mill rate. So that's a position that I'm offering. It's up for discussion, or if anybody else wants to state,
Yeah.
what they think is the right number.
I think that we all know the math. But I think that we can do 500K to bring it up to 4%. And I don't see the need to touch surplus and fund balance to do so. I think it's minimal. I think it's probably like a point, my math, excuse me. We're talking about a 0.06, 0.07 increase in the mill rate. If we go down that path, I just think we have a lot of projects. And Kevin, can you give us a quick rundown of what the money of the surplus is earmarked for right now?
Well, the surplus, you got, council and Board of Finance have to vote on any use of a surplus.
Mhm.
Nothing has been voted on. You did vote to appropriate about $400,000 for scanning work to clean out the area that will be the police station. So that would have been money that would have gone to surplus. So I guess technically that has been used this year. There is upcoming May 2nd, a special meeting to review the Willard HVAC project. Bids did come in. There is a gap between the remaining ARPA funds and where that bid came in. And there is a proposal from staff that will go to the council. Well, it will go to the council to ask for a town meeting. So it'll go to the voters, then the council, and then if approved to you guys on the 9th, to use the final number is going to be determined tonight by the PBC, determining what they recommend for that project. But I'm going to say somewhere in the neighborhood of $700,000 to $1 million of interest. SL reference, it's been a very good year relative to budget for interest income. So we're proposing to use some of that to close that gap and be able to move forward, mobilizing before school lets out so that they can take advantage of as much as possible this summer of moving forward on the air quality project at Willard Elementary School. Beyond that, there's a whole series. You certainly saw the capital items that were eliminated in preparation of the first referendum, as well as items that were identified coming into the budget discussion. That's typically where we would start, but nothing else has either been approved or proposed. Arosh, I don't know if you want to add anything to that. No? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kevin.
I
Just-
mean,
just-
just as, you know, going back to our conversations when you mentioned that other capital, we had a pretty heavy contingent of people that were advocating for something to be done with playgrounds also. There's, you know, $500,000 there too, that's not in the budget whatsoever. So we had talked as a group of potentially using some of that surplus to at least maybe do, you know, one of those playgrounds. So,
Sorry, Dirk, I thought those playgrounds were already in the capital, in the 1,070,000 that we had proposed in the budget, no?
No,
I don't believe
No.
so.
any other, just to put it in perspective, so I just wanna, the 3.5% that I am proposing is a $1.7 million increase over last year's budget. And if you compare the town operations side, just, if you don't include the town capital, which includes some Board of Education, you don't include the police department pension, and you don't include debt, we are giving a town less budget than they had last year by $99,000. So just want to put that in perspective, you know, compared to what we're providing the Board of Education, you know, so. Any other comments on Board of Education or any other members, please?
Well, I am gonna be with the 3.5%. There's a couple of things here. That meets the red line that the Board of Ed had for their cutoff point, where they needed to keep critical staff. That's number one. Number two, yes, we did have a vote, and yes, the vote came back, no, too low. But our position was also no, too low, and that was on the basis of not getting an agreement at the combined meeting. And whoever, we were not in any way pushing this 5.8% or even a 4% number. So that's, you want to count the people that vote. Don't just assume that all of those 800 people that voted no, too low, are voting for a 5.8% increase or even a 4% increase.
But
We are at right now one of the highest budgets that this Board of Ed has ever received. I'm talking about going back 2 decades.
We are in
Let him-
complete agreement that 5.8 we just cannot afford as a town. We can even afford a 4.2. but
We can't afford a 4.2. I am not raising people's
I
taxes.
agree.
One, if we can't find a way to fund this, the 3.5 without raising taxes, I am not going to vote for that either. I am not voting for one more penny of tax increase, not
Well,
one
let-
penny.
Let's go back to a little. So, I mean, the superintendent asked for a 4.87% increase,
Mhm.
okay? Within that, he had contractual requirements of 3.43%. So I can tell you, probably most of us looked at his proposal more than the BOE proposal. So let's not even start with the BOE up, that they upped the proposal. In my opinion, we were kind of looking at the superintendent. Okay, so the 3.5% actually covers the contractual requirements of the superintendent, if you think about it. Plus
Who asked-
plus
who
whatever
asked-
reserve. Let me finish, Raul,
Go
okay?
ahead. Yeah, please.
Okay, and don't interrupt, please. And then plus there's risk reserve in their number, so it's more than 3.5%, so.
Okay, out of all these people, of all of us here, who asked for 3.5?
Who asked for 3.5?
Originally, who asked for 3.5 in this entire room? Who asked originally?
Probably you.
It was me, because again, those were the numbers. Now,
Why are you changing your mind?
because now the number's been 4.2 for the last month. And you guys been
From
saying.
who?
From
By
who?
the superintendent, he just said it in the Board of Education meeting.
Well,
this past week.
well, they're giving different messages, let's put it that way.
And last year's contractual obligations was higher and it came in way lower. So where do we go with that? And the year before, and the year before, and the year before. So where do we go with that? And then they turn up with a surplus. I think 3.5 is fair. But for that $250,000, I'm going to be expecting something on the town side as a reduction for the mill rate as well. So this is not a free, and we're just going to forget the town side because there was a vote there too.
So what are you thinking on the town side? Are you gonna cut from the VNA?
If we're doing 250 on the Board of Ed side, then I want to do 250 on the town side. Sal presented some things at the last meeting that, the joint meeting, that are still out there that we can use to bring the town side down a little bit. So I think we go with that and we go with the 3.5% on the Board of Ed, and that's more than fair for everybody. Sal, what was there, 255,000 you had in there that we still have to work with that was not accepted at that last meeting?
Well, we had the 100,000 left over on the match, grant match.
Yeah,
And then we had 155,000 associated with, we're not, the HVAC systems for Hubbard and Griswold, the interest on those, on that loan, what isn't gonna happen, so, we took that out.
so there's the 250,000 right there on the town side.
And then we offered up the taking out the capital and using surplus for that.
Well, I don't care about the capital. We have to buy that stuff anyway, so that's a non-issue.
So let's go back to the Board of Education. I'd like, some more comments there from any of our members.
Sal, George, I mean, I share the concern that you raised, is that when you go back historically and we look at, and this number, we throw this 4.23 out minimum, and in previous years, there's always been this minimum. They've never gotten that level of funding. As you indicated, they've had surpluses. It's hard to believe that that's a real number, to be honest with you, only because of the history that we have. And we've had these conversations. It seems like, come in with a high budget and be happy when they get half of it. It's been, and tell us, thank you very much. We appreciate the support you're giving us. So now why is it different this year than it is different from the last 6 years? So I'm on board right now at the 3.5% too. I think, and we got to remember, anything we give them is obligated in the future. So you give them 4.2 and they start at 4.2 next year. The state mandates that we have to keep it the same. You can't take any back if it's not needed. So I'd rather have a situation where, they come to us in month 9 and say, hey, look, we need more money, and we work with them type of deal, than to just put it in the budget and let it be.
Yeah.
Are we all in agreement with that? If they come back to us October, November, December, and they say we need more money,
If it's legitimate and they can substantiate it, I would be okay with it.
That's always been the case with every department.
Especially if we have the wherewithal to do it with, some surplus and whatever that doesn't get all allocated to everything else. That's what it should be there for, critical needs.
Yeah, but the only concern I have is that from a town side, we have more visibility with respect to budgets, okay? On the Board of Education side, we don't have that visibility, so I'd be very uncomfortable committing to saying, if they go over, we're gonna provide you additional money, because we don't have control over it, okay?
Well, again, I said with substantial
Yep.
justification, not just, we need this and we go, okay, yeah. I mean, they got to open the books a little bit more to get something like that, from my perspective, a little more transparency.
would you guys do 400? If we go on the town side?
Honestly, I wouldn't have gone over 3.2, so I'm stretching it now.
I'll buy you ice cream, dude.
You know what? I wish I could, but I can't. I mean, I'm looking at everybody in town, not just one department.
I agree with you 100%. But that's, we think we did the same thing for the VNA. Like, we were talking about 200,000, we end up at 100,000 from 300. Like, it's, we see the math and there is opportunity there. After that, you can take 150 from the town over the 250. It gives you.
Well, we have the second, I mean, on the town side, well, the Board of Ed, we haven't settled yet, but I think we're gonna,
It's a matter of $150,000 to get them to 400.
but we're already up 250. So now it's another 150, and then we have to pay that every year from now on. No matter how low the census gets in that school,
We're gonna
and
have to-
it's going down.
Well, let's, I mean, Raul, I hear you, but to be honest with you, the majority of us were comfortable with the 3% to begin with, okay? So I mean, let's face it, we were comfortable with the 3%. We had a majority vote with the 3%. Okay, now we heard the voters speak and vote and saying it's too low, so we're trying to accommodate that, but we're not gonna, you know, we're not gonna go beyond the 3.5%.
That's a shame.
And so all we can do is, you know, put this out there,
Real shame.
put
It's a real
it
shame.
to a vote. And then, you know, if we don't agree, I think what happens is the 3% goes to the town council, if I'm understanding that right.
Yep.
And then the town council decides whether they want to accept or reject.
Well, it's, let's hope it's not politically motivated. Okay.
So any other comments from any other?
Well, I
Board of
guess
Finance?
politically motivated. I mean, I'd like to get input from the other two guys too, you know, so I don't know why it's politically motivated
not.
because
It's not.
there's 6 of us here and, you know, not 4 of us.
Okay, I'll throw my 2 cents in. Seeing the results of the referendum, one could take the results and say 90% of the people didn't think enough of the budget in a negative way to even vote, which implicitly says that they support the budget that we have. I'm not inclined to make any changes to the town side of the budget. And those people that voted for the Board of Education budget to be increased, if they want it increased, then their taxes should go up. So I'm not inclined to say that it would be funded from fund balance. If we're going to do an increase to the Board of Education budget, I would see it coming out of taxes.
Okay. So Jerry, are you saying that you're sticking with the 3% on the Board of Education based on?
No, no, I'm saying I would increase their budget, but it would not come from fund balance.
Okay,
And I probably would be at the most to add 400,000.
Mark, any comments by you or you okay?
I'm pretty much in lockstep with everything Jerry just
Okay,
said.
okay. Okay. So we have 245,000 increase to approximately, I guess, 400,000 increase. I think all we can do is put it to a vote, because it doesn't seem like we're gonna come to an agreement. Well, maybe unless, you know, something changes in the next few minutes, so. So I guess let's put, you know, each position to a vote and see where we end up, which doesn't sound promising. So Tim, will you or George, will you make a motion on the first, the 3.5%?
I could do that for you.
Okay.
I make a motion, we move the Board of Education budget from 3% increase to 3.5% increase.
Can we
Which
do
would be a-
dollars, please?
What's that?
Can we do dollars?
Which would be a $245,000 increase.
To be specific, it's 245, 416,
Sorry, 416?
416, yeah.
I'll second.
Now, Tim, just discussion, Tim, you're saying don't take anything out of fund balance to offset that?
No, I would use surplus,
Yeah, well, you have to, I think you have to.
which is fund balance. Yes, that's the same thing, exactly. I would use surplus.
Would
Okay,
you,
so-
sorry, would you guys do 400K from fund balance? From the
No.
surplus?
No.
No?
All right, so the motion, any further discussion? All those in favor? All those in favor?
You want to do a
Aye.
roll call or?
Let's do it by name. Right.
Okay,
What is the motion? Can you please repeat?
Motion is increase the BOE budget by $245,416, which brings it from 3 to 3.5% increase. But then take, surplus or fund balance to offset that increase of $245,416.
well, you're just doing the first one, right? Or are you doing it all as one, or? Are you just
Uh,
voting on the
If we're taking-
BOE and then
hold on a
you'll
second. If
do
we're
the
taking-
town next?
Hold on a second. If we're taking 240 basically out of fund balance, right? Can we take 400,000 out of fund balance?
Because I don't agree with the $400,000 to begin with, Raoul.
Say it
I don't
again.
want I don't agree with increasing the Board of Education by 400,000.
So you guys are choosing not to increase the budget, not to increase their budget.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I think there's feedback. So you guys are not okay with increasing to 40,000 out of fund balance, but you're okay with 245 out of fund balance.
No, I don't agree with the initial, I don't want to go beyond the 3.5%, is what I'm saying, Raoul.
And that's where I'm at as well.
Well, you have a motion to increase the Board of Ed $245,416, and George seconded it. Do you want to take a roll call vote?
Yes,
Okay. Chairman Bornaro,
yes.
Mr. Fernandez,
No,
Mr. Grady,
Yes,
Mr. Holmes,
No,
Mr. Miller,
you're on mute.
Yes, yes,
Mr.
sorry.
Paradis. You're on mute, Jerry. Mr. Paris,
No.
it's 3-3. The motion fails.
so I'll make a motion to increase the budget to $400,000 coming out of fund balance.
So you're proposing the BOE increase by $400,000
I second.
and appropriate a similar amount from fund balance?
Correct.
Any further discussion? Okay, let's do a vote, roll call.
Chairman Bornaro,
No,
Mr. Fernandez,
Yes,
Mr. Grady,
no,
Mr. Holmes,
Yes,
Mr. Miller,
No,
Mr. Paradis.
Yes.
It's 3-3. The motion fails.
all right. Let's meet in the middle. 325.
Again, funded from fund balance?
Raul,
Yes,
now, George, what do you think, 300?
I'd really like to get to a solution here. I don't really want to go leave it where it is. I don't think that's fair. So
I agree.
Read.
Like, we're meeting, like, let's meet in the middle between 250 and 400, it's 325. Like,
I can't go that high, Raul. I'm sorry. It's just, I can't do that. Not knowing the history of this whole thing.
Jim, you mentioned 300. Do you want to modify it, Raul, to 300 or?
No, I think my offer is pretty reasonable. I think they come up half, we go down half, and everybody wins. Like,
Okay.
at the end of the day, it's $25,000. Like, it's like, yeah, I don't want to come down 75, but here I am. I'm offering an olive branch.
Does anybody want to second Raul's motion?
A second.
Any further discussion?
Getting nowhere.
Okay. I guess we'll vote. Chairman Barnard,
No,
Mr. Fernandez,
Yes,
Mr. Grady,
No,
Mr. Holmes,
Yes,
Mr. Miller,
No,
Mr. Paradis,
Yes,
3-3, the motion fails.
that was how much, that was a 300 and,
25.
3.25.
Raul, it's, where I'm at is where we started from, all we're doing is incrementally increasing now. And I don't believe it's necessary. So I hear you, negotiate in between and all that. It's where we came from, is where I'm at. And I believe 3.5% is more than adequate, including whatever risk money they have. And then considering that I'm looking at the superintendent position, not the BOE position,
Mhm.
which is a percent
Same here.
less and so
Yeah.
forth. So, I mean, it's really where we came from. I know you're gonna say, let's meet in the middle, whatever, but I'm not there, to be honest with you. I'm just being frank with
So
you.
let me ask you this, what would make you guys meet me in the middle? Like, what would you guys ask for? Since we're.
I guess what I'm looking for is the hardcore reasons why that number is the magic number.
Okay.
I mean, Sal has some basis on what he's talking about in his number with regard to what we originally got from the superintendent. This is just reacting to this cry that they need the 5.84 or the 4.23, and we're just trying to get a little bit closer to it.
Exactly.
But Sal's got some logic behind what he's saying with regard to where we started this whole conversation, a month ago.
I appreciate that, George, but honestly, that's where my math was originally, was 3.5. It took you guys a month to come up to my number. I appreciate that. But the number that I'm going with is for what the superintendent's been saying, which is 4.2. It's not by the BOE or anything else. So given what he's put out, what he has spoken about, and I know what the math is, the 6 of us know what the math is for
Yeah.
the town.
But our role,
Huh?
our role is different when what people say behind closed doors, as opposed to what they say in public. I have to say that.
and that's a big problem with
That's
this Board of Education. That's a big problem.
So they create havoc among the parents and so forth. And that's what happens, so I'm stuck on 3.5% period. The superintendent was comfortable with 3.2. I will say that because I know for a fact, okay? Plus the 200K, risk money. So, yeah, he's gonna go out to the parents and cause havoc and that kind of stuff, and I don't buy it.
Yeah.
And I don't understand how our team, okay,
I'm just
can
making.
look at the numbers of the last 5 years, you know what I mean? And every year, the budget that we're given was below contractual requirements, And they had surplus. Even at that budget level, okay?
And not small surpluses.
So I really, from a financial perspective, I'll be honest with you, 3.5% is way beyond what I want to do. But for me, it's a compromise, 3.5%.
Doing calculations.
Your original motion was the 3.5%, the 245,416 with about 3 or 4 cuts on the town side with the state grant and interest. Jerry, you mentioned not being willing or not interested in cutting on the general government side, but the proposals before added fund balance. Does anybody have an interest in blending and raise the Board of Ed 245, 416 and offset it with fund balance?
Say it again, Kev?
Well, it would basically be the first proposal, so raise the Board of Ed 245,416, which is the 3.5%. But instead of taking it by reductions in the general government, it would be fund balance appropriation, which is what you'd mentioned on the subsequent ones. So it doesn't touch the town, which Jerry said he was not interested in doing based on the results. It still does the 3.5%. I recognize that's lower than where many others had spoken, but it sort of blends the two together as funding it through fund balance. It's $245,000. It's doable within the town's financial condition. It does respond to what the voters said, which was Board of Ed too low. And it doesn't take away from the town as the results from at least the too high, too low question almost evenly split, but it does fund it because we have to fund it. I don't know.
That was the initial intent to begin with, Kevin. I mean,
I like that. Yeah,
I don't know.
so we would be leaving alone the general government budget.
And you would fund it
And
through
just using fund balance. Yes, I'm good with that. So that would sneak the mill rate down a little bit.
Well, no, because you'd be
Oh,
increasing.
it would just offset it. Okay, yeah.
You would leave the 0.86 increase that was there. But
Yeah.
you would increase the Board of Ed and not raise taxes to do that additional amount.
Yep.
I don't know if you want to make a motion on that or.
Yeah, I will, because, somebody make a motion, because that was really the initial intent that I proposed to begin with anyways. So, Tim, you want to make, or George, you want to make a motion?
What would be the motion?
Yes. I'll make a motion to increase the Board of Education's budget $248,000 and use
245,416.
245,416. Let me write this down. I got to turn it.
Why don't you just give them the 255 that you're gonna take out?
Would you guys do 300? Like you guys were saying before? And we can call it a night? Did I lose you guys?
No, you didn't lose us.
No, and do it out of fund balance.
Yes. Leave the.
Is everybody gonna be good with that?
Is everybody gonna be good with that?
Sure.
I think he needs the 6, the other 5.
Okay. I'll be okay with that. I can't speak for the rest of the guys, but I can speak for myself and I'll be okay with that.
300's good.
So Tim, your motion, I guess, is increase Board of Ed 300?
Well, we could run it by,
Mark, you agree with that, Mark?
Yes.
I don't know, Sal and George, you want to comment on this?
I want to do something. I don't think $55,000 is gonna kill us, so I'd be okay with it to get this done. I think we send the wrong message if we send this back at the 3%.
I agree.
All right, I will agree to the 300, and then, of course, offset by fund balance.
All right. So here we go. Make a motion to raise the Board of Education's budget $300,000 and offset it on the town side out of fund balance.
There's a second?
Second.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor? By roll call?
We roll call it? You wanna roll
Yes,
call?
might as well.
Chairman Bornaro,
Yes,
Mr. Fernandez,
Yes.
Mr. Grady,
Yes.
Mr. Holmes,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes,
Mr. Paradis,
Yes.
you have a winner.
Now, wasn't that simple?
Hey, Tim,
Yeah,
Tim, now you are on, you recorded as voting to increase the Board of Ed budget. I just want you to remember
I already know that. What makes you think I wasn't gonna all along?
that.
I play poker too, you know, Mark.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
So now you just need motions to send the amounts to the council.
the Board of Education amount,
The Board of Education amount would be 50,855,071.
all right, so can I have a motion?
Say it again? Sorry, Kev, can you say it again?
50,855,071.
I lost you again, buddy. Sorry.
50,855,071.
We want to consider that a motion from Jerry?
Yeah, second.
All in
Do we
favor?
want a roll call, or
I think.
are you
I
okay
think-
doing all in favor?
Yeah, all in
Yeah.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, unanimous. So moved.
And then the general government stays at 50,082,625. The expenditures will stay the same because you're increasing the revenue part of it to get
Yep.
there. through fund
Make a
balance.
motion to send the general government budget to $50,082,625 dollars to the town council.
Second,
Any discussion? So that's the exact same number as what's in proposed, right, Kevin?
That was from the first referendum, yes.
Okay, all right. So, all in favor?
Aye.
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 And then the water control, 5,693,282.
Didn't we already send that to the council?
You did, but
They didn't reject
it
it.
was included within the general government budget. so
oh,
that
that's right, we gotta do it again. Yeah, we do have to do it again.
Number?
5,693,282.
I move to send the Berlin Water Control budget of $5,693,282 to the council.
Or a second?
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Okay, that's,
Move to adjourn.
second,
Second.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Night.
Thank
Good
you.
night.